Hi everyone, welcome to the Sierra Journal launch party. Thank you so much for coming today. This is an amazing event. We did not anticipate this many people, so thank you all for supporting our students and staff who have spent an entire year putting this together. We also want to thank Jody Connolly, who is out in the hallway right now. She is the curator of the Ridley Gallery. She has made room for us in this very special space, and so we're so thankful to her for doing that for us. In addition to that, we want to thank our benefactors because the Sierra Journal is such a production, and I just want to explain that there is an entire committee that makes decisions about the Sierra Journal in addition to all of the students and staff who help people put it together. We have decided collectively to continue our print edition, which is a huge undertaking. So rather than go to an online journal, we have continued to do the print version, and it has come out to be so incredibly beautiful once again. So we're very, very proud of that. I should have introduced myself when I got up here, by the way. I am Lynette Vroman. I am the editor of Sierra College Press and an English instructor at the Nevada County campus. Yes, it is really my privilege to be here today to see all of you and to celebrate the work of all of our students and our staff who helped put this together. So in order to do that beautiful print edition, we have to have support from our college community, and I do want to say thank you to Rebecca Boquicchio, our Vice President of Instruction. Without her support, we wouldn't be able to put this together. In addition, the Liberal Arts Division, the Friends of the Library, and in the past we've had help from our wonderful Patrons Club and the President's Office, and of course from our students. The ASSC helped put this together by donating funds. So we are very thankful to all of the people who make it possible to have this. But of course, most importantly, we couldn't do the journal if it weren't for our students, right? Our students contribute the works of literature and the works of art and photography that go into the journal, as well as decide what makes it into the journal and to design and put the journal together. And they couldn't do that without the support of Sierra College staff who helped them do that. So we are ever so thankful to them. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Professor Vinny Pacheco, who helps our students put together the beautiful journal that you see today. So, Professor Pacheco.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here. If you haven't, please go pick up a copy. I think it's one of our best issues that we produced as an institution and as a journal. Really confident in this. I also want to thank you all for helping us celebrate what is the 58th edition of the Sierra Journal. This is a publication that's been around since 1960, so back in the good old hippie days. There have been gaps when we weren't able to produce this journal, but thankfully, with our partnership with the Sierra College Press, we have been able to produce this on a continuous basis. Special thanks to our sponsors, of course. As Lynette mentioned, this is rare to have a printed literary journal in this day and age. Many people say print is dead, but it's not, you know. With a collaborative team that has your back, you can accomplish something like this. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're one of 6 literary journals that are published in the state. So it's a dying artifact, but you know, what's great is that you know, we actually have, you know, a token of time and place. It's not just a coffee table book. It's something that represents the creative community here at Sierra College, and I'm proud to be a part of it. My name is Vincent Pacheco. I go by Vinny. I teach in applied art and design, and I actually lead the production of the journal in publication design 2. I involved 20 students from my class to work on this issue. It's a student-run publication, as it's always been, in combination with the Mythopoetics Club, which we'll talk about in a second. My publication design class designs, edits, curates, and illustrates the issue. So we have a marketing editor. I appoint a marketing editor at the beginning of class. That student, Skylar Johnston, there's Sky back there. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. That's our illustration editor. So we come up with custom illustrations, bespoke illustrations to accompany the literature submissions. So if you flip through the book, you'll see that there are some black and white illustrations paired with some literature submissions. It's not an easy feat as an illustration editor to lead a team of 7 illustrators with unique and varying styles and points of view and aesthetics around a central style and overall aesthetic for the book. Skylar did an amazing job leading that team and ensuring that all illustrators unpack the larger themes and messages from the literature pieces in an appropriate way. Our marketing editor, who I referred to, Claire McNeil-Caird, is not here, unfortunately, but Claire took the lead on our social media presence, promotion, advertising, etc., advertised this event for us. And we also have our art director, Mickey Wright, who developed the overall visual look and feel for this year's edition. So it's a real-world project, and in fact, every student in the class has the opportunity to propose a unique cover and layout design for the upcoming edition. We present that work to the Sierra Journal Committee, comprised of faculty and professors. We vote on a single direction. Mickey's was chosen this year, and the whole class rallied around this messy, grungy look and feel that you see today. So really, it's a pleasure being here. It was a pleasure working on this edition with this amazing group of students. And I think that's enough from me, and I'd like to take a second to introduce Mickey, our art director, to talk in depth about the aesthetic choices behind the direction of this year's edition. So Mickey, if you wouldn't mind coming on up.
Oh, I'm kind of nervous. Okay, let's just get into it then. So, as an artist, thank you. As an artist, I feel like, as artists, we all kind of try to strive for perfection. We all try to strive for that perfect final masterpiece. Something that's compositionally amazing. But I feel like part of, sorry, I'm very nervous. Part of what's not shown to many viewers as they look at the final piece is the actual beauty of the artistic process itself, and that's always been kind of a shame to me, because to me that's always been the part of art that I derive the most joy from. That's where you're able to refine mistakes, that's where you grow as an artist, that's where you do your experimentation. And I really wanted this version of the journal to kind of be a celebration of those ideas. So I wanted each page to kind of have this balance of imperfection, but at the same time controlled intent, so that as you're going through it, you're aware that everything that's inside didn't just come out of nowhere as like a perfectly finished piece. It was actually heavily considered by the artists that were working on them. They went through several renditions, mistakes were corrected, different concepts were explored. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to hammer home to all of the readers of this edition of the journal that, yeah, every single brushstroke and every painting you see in here, every aspect of a photo's composition, every single word in a short story or a poem, that stuff came from an actual person. And yeah, the creative process, these works, they shouldn't exist without context. They're kind of like essentially the final stage of a process that's just as beautiful as the final work itself is. So yeah, that's basically what I tried to convey in the journal. I don't really know how to end this, but thank you again to my team, illustrators, layout artists, and the marketing director, of course, for helping me kind of convey that. I think we did a really good job and created something really unique. And of course, thank you to Vinny for kind of helping guide me through this process and kind of spearheading the whole thing as well too. So yeah, that's it. That's the speech, y'all.
Truly a team effort. Illustration, marketing, and our layout team, of course. But we couldn't have done it without Professor Chris Hall, who I believe is over here. He's going to introduce the Mythopoetics team and how we collaborated with that club.
Thank you, Lynette. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. You probably expect me to start with something erudite, like a quote from, because I'm an English professor, like a quote from the Arabian Nights that goes, "People need stories more than they need bread because stories tell us how to live." That's a pretty good quote, isn't it? And I think whether those stories take the form of poetry or prose or visual arts like photography and other forms like paintings, this journal captures the stories of Sierra College students in this unique moment in time, in this specific place. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. But I want to start with a quote from a less illustrious source. From the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which came out last summer, Seth Rogen at the beginning addresses the audience, and he says, "Thank you for allowing me to do what I love to do so much." So I want to just say to the students, to the faculty and staff who worked on the journal and who support the journal, to our donors, thank you so much for allowing me to do something I love. This is really a unique opportunity. I think when people think community college, they don't think first and foremost arts and literature journal. And so we're really lucky to have this and have this in a printed form, as others have already pointed out. I do want to mention, at the risk of sounding less than modest, that our last year's iteration of the journal won 2 awards. We were recognized by the National Council of Teachers of English and the Addy Awards. So to me, that's a real testament to the hard work we all do, but the core of that work is done by the students. So I want to just thank Mythopoetics Club. I know it's a mouthful, Mythopoetics. It's a club focused around the intentional use of literature to transform the dominant myths of our culture, to tell a better story, to make a better world. And I really feel students have grabbed onto the vision of that and made it something really beautiful. They donate their time each semester, each year, to reading and vetting submissions for the Sierra Journal, to ranking and re-ranking, which Nicole will talk more about in a minute, the co-president of the club. But I want to just say thanks to all the students who were involved with this, all the staff who were involved with it. I want to say thanks first and foremost to Mythopoetics Club, Astrid Parrish and Nicole Kenny, who are the co-presidents, Daniel Bressler, who's the current treasurer, and Parker Karsling, who is the current vice president of the club, and all the other students. We had 15 students who worked hard on editing the journal this last year. And I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you. Could we give the students a round of applause? Thank you. And now I'm a little nervous too, I guess. I thought I wouldn't be, but I do want to remember to say that Nicole Kenny, I'm going to introduce our president of Mythopoetics right now, and we're lucky enough to have readings by people who are published in the journal. Some of the authors are here and they're going to read for you this afternoon. So without further ado, Nicole Kenny, if you would take it away.
So I guess the theme is being nervous. So you guys are leaving your nervous energy up here for me, and I'm like absorbing it right now. So I'm Nicole. I am the current president of Mythopoetics Club. And this is actually the second issue of the Sierra Journal where I've had the honor of being on the editorial team. I was a part of the award-winning one last year, so I feel really proud of that. Our job as student editors for the literary submissions is not an easy one, but it is a rewarding process. We received a total of 157 literary submissions, ranging from poetry and prose to scripts and plays. And then there were just an incredible amount of talent and skill, and just, I know all of the hard work that goes into that. Like Mickey said, you know, it's not just one and done. What you see is not the original. There are many, many iterations before we get to the point where it's published. And I'm constantly amazed by the talent and the skill of our Wolverines here. So this was a really daunting task to read through all 157 submissions. Yet our wonderful editors in the Mythopoetics Club worked through 2 semesters and put in an amazing amount of time and effort to ensure this issue would be the best version possible. It's a long process where we whittle down the numbers. So we start with 157 and we work our way through each submission, and we narrow it down to, the next 70. And then we work through those, so it takes a really long time to get through. And then by the time we're ready to send the accepted pieces to Vinny and his crew, we've usually read through some of the same pieces 6 or more times, and we could probably recite them to you now by memory. So yeah, that's kind of our process. It's a really long one, and it is fun. It's very involved, but it is fun. So we have a few contributors, like Chris mentioned, who are going to read. And I will start, if I can find it. Okay. So my poem is titled Beneath the Weeping Willow Tree. The weeping willow stands, keeper of the river's edge. Her limbs hang heavy, caressing the passing stream. An eastern golden glow stretches and peaks. The air stirs with a deep sigh as lilac sky meets the waking land. I sit beneath her boughs, dew-soaked palms pressed to ground, listening to rustling leaves and the gentle murmur of the river. There is peace here with my old friend, a stillness that soothes my sorrows, the smell of earth and water bridging the space between. The weeping willow holds an ancient wisdom deep within her roots, secrets she shares with me in the stillness, whispered in the soft sigh of the wind. Today it is a tale of endurance for the weary and worn. My tears are softly guided to river's edge, and finally I feel at ease beneath the weeping willow tree. Next we have, thank you. Next we have Sky, who's going to come up and share their piece.
Oh, I need a copy of the book. Do you mind?
Copy that I
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm very short. All right, my name is Sky Malaro. If anyone would like to read along, my first poem is called Ghost Fingers, and it is on page 79. All we can do in the interim is reach out with our ghost fingers. Electric words, spider webbing in an instant across the distance between us. Little letters of light, flashing like neurons from city to city. We're frequent flyers. The letters all say, no matter how they're arranged, I love you. This time our reunion is golden. We're all strung along the web like dewdrops racing, desperate to cohere at the center. It's an ache that has me counting the hours before you'll be hugging me so hard you lift me off the ground. Hours so precious we ignore them, even as they slip through our fingers, even over your golden rings, even as we're comparing the scars on our hands that are so tangible I can hold them. Not like the ghost fingers I clutch when I'm alone, trying to remind myself you're made of warmth and not glowing letters on a screen. I reach out with my ghost fingers and give you a little gift of light. I love you, it twinkles as it lights up your phone. I love you. My second poem is on page 83. It is called Flash. You will die in half a second. 13 milliseconds is all it takes the human eye to recognize an image, leaving 487 to process everything else. The sky is falling and you understand that though you stand 14 inches apart, you are alone. The sky is falling, the moon is the sky, and you won't be able to reach the woman beside you before your skin dissolves and caramelizes, before the tendons in your fingers twitch towards her, before you can even enjoy the smell. But at least you used some precious time to process that you wanted to.
Next, we have Jamie.
Hello, my name is Jamie. I know I look young, but I actually graduated from here about 7 years ago, so it's nice to be back. I have 2 poems here to read to you today. So the first is called Identity Theft. Through the window, moon glides over her shoulder like hot rocks across her skin. I dream of this place often, of her warm breath and almond eyes, the curve of her lips giving me purpose, and me becoming who she says I am. In the whispers between dusk and dawn, our bodies trick us into believing we glow. But stirring through her hair, I still miss the falling strands. Our sweat and arms tangle in the dampness of these sheets until she grabs my wrist and pulls me under. In the darkness, I tell her I am changing, that I have wallowed long enough in this water and forever space. A pointless shout meets with silence, her voice hard to find in morning light and the empty place beside me. As my hand reaches out for hers, I cry not because she is gone, but because I no longer knew my name. And then here is the second piece, and it's on page 109 for those who are looking. After there was us, and it starts with a quote from William Butler Yeats, that 20 centuries of stoning sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Like a child tangled in her vines, her precious hands, her radiant hem, hushed me to slumber. Consumed by night, I fell into earth's hold, dreaming of worlds between worlds. Moon glides across dark corners of her eyes. In this deep space, we grew from accident, miracle, evolving slowly, our bones made of mud, and before that, bodies of water. Life after life, we forgot to feel death, a carnal crust twirling beneath a boot. In soot, I awoke to what was left of warm embraces, red skies, dense fog, deer gone. An empty place left time to think of all that was, all of the signs, messages born from a creature of darkness, sharp claws, black fur, open mouth. A creature so terrible, I stayed by its side to muffle loneliness, where it spoke to me and I spoke to it. No light to measure, time spent staring into red eyes, eyes of unbearable sadness, blinks of a life half-lived. I felt its endless hunger, volcanic acid lying deep in the stomach's ground, a pain we could share after mother left us, after we left her. We could have blamed each other for destruction, for insanity. Instead, I held the creature tighter, taming its wild tongue. I saw myself in its salty tears. We were the same. We were one. And I promised to show it the way my world had been before us. Walking through remains, we searched for a place to start over together, a precious place where we could savor the taste of a forgotten dream.
Next up is Daphne.
Hello.
The first poem that I will be reading is called To the Mandarin Farmer, and if you would like to follow along, please join me on page 72. To the Mandarin Farmer. Before World War II, we called them Japanese oranges. Before emigrating, you called yourself Himiko. You arrived bearing a seed, smelling of prayer. Mandarins are among the 5 fruits from which all other citrus descend. Every fruit from your orchard is also a mother. Every segment an exploitation and exoneration. And and this poem was illustrated by Champabe. The next poem I would like to read is on page 69, titled Mother's Hands. Her beautiful hands, white winter birds in mid-flight, stitch and feed and write. I will not be reading the French version. And then, lastly, I would like to read a third poem titled, gosh, what page is it? What I Do When I Say I'm Doing Nothing. I sit in the passenger seat and watch the sycamores drive past, bark peeling off the white neck of the trunk like skin off a sunburn. I go to the grocery store and caress the heavy tomatoes in my hand, like a little boy discovering the heft of his testicles, and I buy flowers, tulips, pollen-flushed gladiolas, and trim the stems at an angle and feed them sugar water and white vinegar, but forget to change the water so they die in a week. And I think of changing my name to something like Eloise or Fiona. I sleep 7.5 hours, and I wash the sheets, feed the cat, take a walk. Watch the color of the sunlight change in the gentle anguish of early morning. I come up with reasons not to exercise. I'm tired, I just ate, I love my body as is. I love the services my body provides. Still, I want to change it, its color and size. Its heft in the soft, starving hand of God, who lacks my aspirations, evaluations, wants nothing more of me, its creation, than to live, and to live.
I am Rusty Batorik. I work here in the IT department. You might notice that as I'm reading here that we talked about perfection, and in the seeking of perfection, why there's a few words that might have changed. The poem is called A Little Ray of Sunshine. I sat outside beneath the shade of the old oak tree, wrapped in arms of majestic grace and quiet dignity. Could such strength be mine, I mused. Oh, that it were true. It seems so impossible, alas. How could it ever be? I had so many questions, all at once they came. So much had been forgotten. Was I the one to blame? How many years had come and gone? How many seasons touched its leaves? Mortal men we had forgotten. Oh, the weight of guilt and shame. Was it hard to stand alone when there was none to aid? When storms howled their angry rage, did it ever feel afraid? Such courage, oh, such grace. Could it too be mine? Surely there must be a way. Let my heart be not betrayed. Yet other trees were not as this, at least not to my eye. Were they doomed to suffer? From my mouth escaped a sigh. Their branches seemed to wither. They were strangled by the vines, and the wind would knock them over if it had the mind to try. What was their affliction? And was there any cure? Perhaps there was a remedy, but how could I be sure? Could they be made whole again? Or was it now too late? I thought I heard a rustle. Had the tree begun to stir? As I pondered all these questions, yes, and many more, I felt a new awareness that I'd never felt before. Where once it had been quiet, now music filled the air. My eyes went wide with wonder as I beheld a distant shore. Enchanted by the sound, I stepped into another place. My eyes went wide. The tree and I were now face to face. You have much to learn, it said. I confessed that it was true. Mortal men we had forgotten, indeed, all the human race. I trembled as I heard it say, my child, do not fear, for not all things that you see are as they appear. Surely much has been forgotten. Too many seasons long ago, the hearts of men grew cold, and their ears refused to hear. The sickness that you saw, it said, goes to the very root. The story can't be told by just looking at the fruit. Inside a door was opened, not of matter, but of mind. A guest came uninvited, both to plunder and to loot. This guest is known to all, both simple and devout, but once he comes to visit, you cannot get him out. His name is pride, the bane of men. He blinds the minds of all, for they do not understand what this life is all about. Pride is a thief, there is no doubt. He sneaks in unaware. More is what he wants and needs, and is his only care. He makes promises of freedom, yet in his hands are chains. He slowly strangles the life from men. This Trojan horse beware. As I pondered all he said, a tear escaped my eye. I couldn't help but marvel at the power of a lie. How many had been taken in? Sadness gripped my soul. Was there nothing I could do but sit here and to cry? Then something like a hand reached out, but made of greenery. It was so amazing, a gift given by a tree. The vial seemed to sparkle in a dazzling display, a timeless treasure beyond worth. I held it oh so carefully. I wondered at the vial. Could it all be true? What was it that the tree had said? It had given me a clue. This gift was meant for others. It was not for me. I couldn't wait to use it and to see what it might do. Then the music faded, but I was not alone. For there right beside me, I heard a stifled groan. A tree I saw was suffering. It was near the end, and as I beheld it struggle, I saw what I too once had known. I pleaded and I begged, but it refused to wake. Did it not know that its life was even now at stake? Then I took the vial and poured out just a drop. I wondered what might happen. Lo, the tree began to shake. Then music filled the air again, joy beyond control. Right before my eyes I saw the tree had been made whole. There written on the vial, I read these simple words, a little ray of sunshine to brighten any soul. Lost in wonder, bathed in delight, like rivers flowing free. One more question I had to ask. Sir, what might your name be? Mortal men we had forgotten, but then maybe not. The name is buried deep inside, you know. His name is called humility. Most people never find me, though I am all around. For the source of my great strength is hidden underground. My roots, which reach down deep, are anchored in the truth. There is no other way to stand when the storms of life surround. That day I made a promise. It seemed the thing to do. For the words the tree had said, I knew they must be true. Every day that I am given, I will look and find a tree and pour out again the vial until my life is through.
Next we have Kathleen Taylor.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Taylor. I teach here. Hi. Familiar faces. What I'm going to read is something I wrote about one of the most inspirational faculty ever on this campus. It was Dr. Harry Avis. It's a little piece about Harry. It's titled Harry's Oaxacan Dream. Daily, I put on my Panama hat and wound my way through the streets, avoiding ankle-spraining open pits and knee-configuring rebar juts that together, along with cement, comprised the sidewalks of Oaxaca. I was seeking Harry, Professor psilocybin, my academic colleague. He was now retired from the type of institution you wind up teaching at if you're fired enough from the mini Ivies or have that urge to just say no to compulsory publishing. Harry was a gifted psychopharmacologist. He still published and had at least one university that never stopped trying to recruit him. I assert that Harry's high point was donning a white rabbit suit large enough to fit his 6'3" frame, and he taught a class on hallucinogens that was televised live across Northern California. During this class, Harry mentioned that the Hells Angels were the popular vector for the distribution of LSD in the area. It's a statement that did not sit well with the local chapter. This resulted in a lawsuit wherein one member's deposition read, "A large white rabbit insinuated." Guys like Harry are rare, and when he retired, I missed him dearly. Hence my desire to find him in this beautiful city where he and his wife had moved some 5 years previously after selling everything they owned in the United States. Fueled by their love of art, food, and dancing, the plan had been to create a new community in a city they had visited annually for 20 years. And so they did, buying raw property on the southern outskirts of town and finding a dance studio where the music was so hot you had to go out into the noonday sun just to cool off. A great start, but then Harry had a right temporal lobe stroke. Harry, always emotionally mercurial at best, became unhinged. His laser wit and his hawk-eyed observational skills resulted in disinhibited polemics that repulsed the people around him. And this included his beloved wife, Julia, who once told me that his love saved her life, healing parts of her she believed untouchable. I had come to visit Harry, but first I had to find Harry, and the expat English library seemed like a good place to start. During my second week in Oaxaca, I did. He was reading alone in one of the small rooms, a doorknob-topped cane at his side. It took a moment, but recognizing my voice, he broke into a broad smile. "Propasagnosia," he explained. "Interesting," I responded. He quickly retorted, "Yes," for about 30 seconds. We had both taught about the loss of facial recognition abilities, so no need for clinical speak. I nodded. We made a date for lunch later that week. When I arrived at the restaurant, Harry was already seated. Over ensalada aguacates, we talked about the past, teaching, his and Julia's ballroom dancing, their passionate love, and how Oaxaca always felt like home. When the black mole tamales arrived, we talked about losses, the use of his legs, his vision, his emotional ability, Julia moving out, and the wreckage of their Oaxacan dream. He spoke of being alone, of falling repeatedly, of being dependent on a daily caregiver. He was guileless, without irony or melancholy, and by the time the cafes were served, without vanity. 2 young girls ran in to collect him and take him home. I watched him leave, leaning solidly on his cane, the black pants swaying on his thin hips. I felt raw. Harry, without vibrancy, saddened me. I ordered a cerveza as I waited for the check. Hearing shuffling, I looked up to see Harry returning. Sitting down, he announced that he needed to tell me a story. The two young girls belonged to Margarita, Harry's Mormon caregiver for the last 2 years. She was the first person to call if Harry was in trouble. He adored her children, and they never discussed religion. Recently, Harry had mentioned to Margarita that he was going to sell his Oaxacan property because the time was gone, never to come back. Margarita said, "No, you can't." Harry believed she was attempting to give him a semblance of hope about the future, and he responded, yes, we are going to sell. Margarita became visibly distraught, insisting that no, they could not sell, not now, not ever. Harry asked, "Why, Margarita? There's no purpose for the land any longer." Margarita hung her head and said, "Harry, when you die, you need to be here, because where else could I go to see you?" Harry slowly stood up and, listing heavily, turned his beaming, damp face towards the door where the two girls stood in their school uniforms, and he walked out. 8 weeks later, Harry died in his apartment, a massive coronary, at age 67. I know he is at peace, just south of Oaxaca.
And last we have Ernesto Guerrero.
Hello, welcome. And this is such a gift to be published in the Sierra College Journal. It's my first year. I teach ethnic studies with a focus in Chicano studies, so thank you. This is such a gift. Respond to Pacal's son. Dear family and friends, oh family members and friends, please open the deep depths of the ocean for Pacal. He deserves to see his mirror in stories you expose him to. Don't block out his 5 sons that shine on his sacred intertwining roots, which root him to the cascade of fragrant stars, who sing to him his history based on songs sung by his Mesoamerican myths. Don't read to him that bloody contemporary children's literature such as Harry Potter. How can he see the depths of his ocean when he does not see himself in the dark shadows of mere parodies of Shakespeare's literary spells of modern English? Reach out to Pacal with Flor y Canto, the sacred Mayan hymns, chants, and songs inspired by animistic beliefs for communing with nature. Let them bloom into his heart of fire, blaze of literary justice under the fierce of maternal moon. Let him hear the voices invoke the 4 directions, vibrating through the Milky Way, explode as cosmic prayers, releasing his marigold sun. Oh, family members and friends, open Pacal to such myths, the drumming words of the plumed Mayan Aztec, Danza Aztec sculptures, Mexica, Mayan, Tarascan, Olmec, Chinchimec, Texococan. He is destined to feel the colorful words through In Lakesh, becoming one with his colored verse, becoming 2 virtuosos, 13 poets, and again 1. Oh, family members and friends, culturally respond to Pacal's essence, the heart of the universe. We're all his butterflies. Reach out to him and learn the stories of the moon. Remember that the sun was fully awake when he was born. Not even the night can keep his spirit asleep. As his heart keeps singing, spread the rainbow of love around his hearts. around our hearts and his heart. Tomorrow, create another world, unravel your stories, allowing my son to see the sixth sun. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming today. We really appreciate your support. It's been a lovely party. We have had a full house. That is so amazing. So thank you. Yes, thank you all for coming. Shameless plug, there are Mythopoetics t-shirts for sale out in the lobby for $15. Support our Mythopoetics Club. There's also amazing Sierra Journal swag to be had out there. So again, thank you so much for coming. Take care. Have a good night.